Hello everyone, welcome back to Diving into Doctor Who here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. We have reached the greatness of Series 3 now. We are talking the Family of Blood two-parter. Obviously, we know what is coming after this two-parter as well. We do have Blink, we do have the finale three-parter, as it essentially is in Series 3. Very, very exciting to be finally here, to be talking this great two-parter, this very unique two-parter in Doctor Who's history, at least Doctor Who's modern history, and seeing what you think about it, Jeannine, because it seems you have some strong opinions about the Family of Blood two-parter. Very, very interesting. This is a story that was originally a Doctor Who novel in the mid-90s. Back when Doctor Who wasn't making TV properly, you call it the wilderness years, as it can be referred to as, during which the TV movie with Paul McGann would come out in 1996. But this story, I believe, was written as a novel in 1995 by Paul Cornell, who would then go on to write these episodes as well. Which I think is why it's always felt to me like a very, very whole story. It feels like something you could just take and put anywhere, kind of in Doctor Who's mythology, in Doctor Who's lore. It's a full, complete arc. It's very, very unique. I think it's a great piece of sci-fi. I really, really do. I think it's very, very emotional. It's very emotionally impactful in so many different ways, on a personal level, on a big picture, thematic level, you know, with all these characters, not just the Doctor, central to it all, obviously. But knowing what we are like, we always have a little bit of a discussion about some general thoughts before we get on to record. And you have some strong opinions. I'm excited to get into these on the Family of Blood two-parter. We're going to treat this as one big long discussion. Obviously, it's a two-part episode. It is that one complete story. I will give a little bit of a synopsis of the first episode of this two-part, which is Human Nature, episodes 8 and 9 of Series 3 that these are. In England in 1913, school teacher John Smith experiences amazing dreams of living an incredible life as a mysterious adventure called the Doctor, fighting monsters and seeing far away worlds. Interesting. We're dealing with a human being as our central character in Doctor Who. What's going on here, Jeannine? Well, first off, I suppose, what do we think about this two-parter? Generally speaking, we can get into the Doctor being a human being side of it all in a little bit.
Yeah, no, I liked these 2 episodes, I agree, it felt like its own kind of standalone thing that could have happened any time in any season, so I liked that concept. The Doctor kind of being separated from himself was just really interesting to kind of see what life would look like for him. And yeah, there were some things that obviously frustrated me when it comes to Martha because, I've become very precious about her. Um,
Yes,
and
rightfully
uh,
so.
yes. So yeah, there were some things that like hurt my heart a little bit with her character. It reminded me of things that were done to another black female character on the show Vampire Diaries, not to the excess that it was done to her on that show, but I kind of had that same feeling of like the fans wanting something for this character. the
Yeah.
actors wanting this thing for the character and playing into it, but the writers refusing to let the fans or the actors have that because for I don't know if it's for, discriminatory reasons or what, but they just were very hard on this black character in the writing, and wouldn't kind of let her have things or let her experience, love and things like that. So I was just like feeling that kind of frustration happening throughout these episodes and frustrations in terms of how Martha was treated. So that was very kind of getting me a little upset. But other than that, like, I think it was a really interesting story. And I like that it felt kind of like, epic on its own. Like this could be a Doctor Who like special or movie just on its
Yeah.
own. So I liked that.
Yeah. Okay. I think obviously it's an important point to bring up.
Yeah.
It's a major element of this story is Martha's longing to help the Doctor. It
Yeah.
really, to me, it just boosts Martha's. This is where all my sympathy and fondness for Martha comes from, is
Mhm.
kind of mainly in these two episodes because the amount of stuff like she selflessly does
Yeah.
is so noble, so
Mhm.
incredibly, you know, wonderful as a friend, as a
Yeah.
companion to do the amount of stuff she does for the Doctor in these episodes. But as you say, to she's not quite getting what she wants out of it, which
Yeah.
obviously brings massive amounts of sympathy, but also I think elevates we the viewers' fondness for her because it just makes us want to see better for her more and
Yeah.
more and more and more. I think this has been a thing I've brought up throughout series 3 when we've been obviously talking about these episodes, is Martha is a really, really beloved companion. And I don't even know if she would be as beloved a companion if she had have gotten everything she wanted. I
Yes,
feel
and
like it's almost because the Doctor is still, for the first part of the season was still coming off the grief of Rose, and now just is in
a
lonely
weird state.
territory in his own mind. He's in a weird psychological place where
Yeah.
he's not as the Doctor going to allow himself to become romantic again. Never mind what we see throughout this
Yes,
two-parter.
and
That
that
is
is
not the
the
Doctor doing that. That I think
yes.
we have to determine, we have to
Yeah,
not realize that it's too basic a word, but we have to
yeah,
kind of keep reminding ourselves it's not actually the Doctor having the romantic
yeah.
arc of this episode. It is John Smith, the human version of the Doctor.
Yes. Yeah, so that's gotta be very kind of complicated, I think, for Martha to process as well, but she finds
Yes,
a way to do that, so love her for that, but just heartbreaking to see her have to go
it
through that.
is.
And the show does this really frustrating thing that, like, I think they should do. I think it's purposeful. I think it's sobering that they make every companion feel special. Like they're the only
Yeah,
ones, like
yeah.
they're the most important ones that, the Doctor has this aura of making them feel so special. And
That
then we get
that
the
never
rug.
stops, by the way.
Yes.
That never ever
Yes,
stops.
exactly, and so I know it's baked into the show. So they get us comfortable with this, you know, concept, and then the rug pull will eventually happen where we realize that, like, it's not this individual, it's just kind of the set thing of, like, how this always happens.
Yeah. It's the
Because
concept of the companion, which is
exactly.
is is a is is a consistent gripe, I suppose, you can have with the show, but it is the writing style, it is the
Yeah.
character dynamic
Yes.
of the show.
Yes, it's very much the concept if everyone is special, then no one is, which I think that's
Yeah.
a line from from, like, in The Incredibles. I think Syndrome says that. Said that.
Yes. Yes, it
Is
does.
that where that came
It
from?
is where that's
Is
from. It
that if
is from The
everyone is super, like,
Incredibles.
if everyone's special, then no one is, or everyone's super, then no one is
Yeah,
thing, kind of thing. So yeah, it's really a heartbreaking thing because he makes every companion feel very special and unique, like, like Rose, like she was the only one. And then when she met that other companion, it was a very kind of sober
yeah,
realization. And it was also a realization to us, the viewer, that like, oh yeah, like he's done this so many times. No, companion is going to like stand out above another to him, kind of thing. So you let me think that this person is more special to him in this moment, but then another companion comes along and she's just kind of as equally special. Um
yeah,
so, when at the end of this episode, when we do see the doctor kind of immediately like, you know, have another invitation out there to somebody, then it immediately like it's the sobering hit of um Martha's not really special, because like how easily
yeah.
he's trying to like invite this other person along, even telling her that like all of the things about the man that he was is still in there and he could bring that out and all of these things. I was just it was very upsetting.
It
It's getting
is.
me
No,
though.
100% it
So
is very
yeah.
frustrating, but it speaks to, we become too familiar, I think,
Yeah.
with the
Yes.
Doctor as, we see the Doctor as a human being. I think we particularly see the 10th Doctor as a human being because David
Mhm.
Tennant purposely plays him so
Yeah.
personable. He plays him so
Yeah.
unalien. He plays him so human.
Yeah.
And obviously, after 2 episodes of this story, of an incredibly complex, you know, psychological dynamic of the Doctor having, being presented and having, we understand why, because we're given little story cues, but losing his Time Lord self and becoming a genuine human being who has no real memory of being the Doctor, um,
Yeah.
as John Smith, this school teacher in Edwardian England right before World War
1913. Yeah.
One,
Yeah.
um, who has these dreams and fantasies of moments from the show's past, his
Yes,
life being the Doctor. We
drawings of
see
the
that
old doctors, drawings of all the
wonderful
aliens
little
and
notebook.
monsters. Yes, yeah, yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful little notebook of dreams that he has that we do flick through. That
yeah,
Joan, his like nurse romance,
yeah.
she flicks through, and I do love that we get the drawings of all the little
All the
monsters we've
other
seen so far,
yes,
the
all of
other
the other
doctors,
doctors, Rose, yeah, the
yeah, the
Daleks, yeah.
TARDIS.
Yes, yeah,
Everything is drawn in this little notebook by John Smith, a man who has
yeah.
no real recollection of this happening. Um, it's a very, very complex psychological point we are
Yeah,
dealt with in human nature. I think in particular, once we get to the second episode, the family of blood, it
mhm,
definitely becomes more. It's almost more emotional. It's more
yeah,
high stakes. I think they're both wonderful episodes on their own, but obviously they are
mhm,
intended to be together. So if you
together,
put
yeah,
them, you have to put them absolutely together. It was vital we talked about these 2 episodes in one episode of diving into Doctor
yeah,
Who
yeah.
because it would have just felt silly to
Very
break them
yeah,
up.
to separate them. Yeah, yeah.
Because of how solid and quality a story it
Mhm,
is. Frustrating
yeah.
in elements,
Yes, but
absolutely.
emotionally complex, which makes it really interesting. Yes, I found myself
Yeah,
frustrated, but I wasn't, like, mad at the show for doing that. I like, it felt very much like we need these types of conflicts. Everything can't be easy, as you said, like, would Martha be as likable if she got everything she wanted? So, yeah, like, I understand the choices, but I still, and I like that it's making me feel things.
yeah,
If I don't I'd rather feel these kinds of emotions and care about these characters in the way I do rather than not feel anything.
yeah,
And, jumping to our other show that we talk about on this series, Dawson's Creek. It's giving kind of like, you know, Joey in those in that first season when she's pining for Dawson and he's just not
Yeah,
getting it, kind you know? And
yeah.
so that frustration was at play as well for me in these episodes.
But
So,
that absolutely speaks to the quality of the show
yeah.
at the moment and the quality of these episodes. It wouldn't be as you say, it wouldn't be making you feel that way if it didn't give
If I
you
didn't care, yeah.
reason to, if you didn't care. So the fact you are caring is
Yeah.
a positive, even though it might be invoking frustrating emotion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I love these episodes in particular because they are so layered, though.
Yeah.
There's obviously the basis of what's going on here is the Doctor has turned himself human, turned himself into John Smith because he and Martha were being hunted by,
Yeah.
the
These
titular
a
family of blood.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so in order to, because they needed a Time Lord to consume, they needed Time
Yes,
Lord
to
energy
survive,
to live
yes,
on.
because 'cause they're about to die. Yeah, they're about to die,
Yeah,
like, in 3 months. If they can't find something to sustain them, the power of a Time Lord will sustain them for the rest of their
yeah,
days, so if they kill and and consume the Doctor, they will have all the power they need to survive and take over. And
yeah,
they can track him by his smell, so they don't even know what he looks like. They've been following him no matter where they go in time, because of his smell. So if he makes himself not a Time Lord and makes himself a regular person, then they won't be able to find him. So he traps his essence in this pocket watch. Um,
yes.
yeah, yes, and
That
leaves
he
a list.
keeps.
Yeah, yeah,
He keeps this pocket watch with his human counterpart, John Smith. Martha obviously is also there in this school. She is working as a maid,
maid.
essentially a
Yeah,
servant in this
yes,
school. It's Edwardian England. We still have
1913. Yeah,
servants,
yeah,
at this point, who are treated very, very poorly, I might admit,
yes,
because this is quite clearly a very posh public school for boys,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
really, really unpleasant a lot of the
yes,
time. The treatment and the classism and the
yeah,
racism that is going on in this.
yeah,
But kudos for Doctor Who for going that hard with it, because
yeah,
when you realize, I think, the drastic difference between tones of some episodes of Doctor Who compared to others, especially in this era. It's a strange beast because this is, your first Russell T Davies era. Anytime you will see written by Russell T Davies, it's gonna be a bit silly. It might be
yeah,
positively silly, it might be
yeah,
enjoyably silly, but it's gonna be a bit silly. When you see written by anyone else, that's when you kind of know, unless it's a finale or an opener, that's when you kind of know, okay, we're going to get something thematically interesting here.
okay.
Because everybody else wants to seriousify up Doctor Who, wants
Yeah,
to
yeah.
kind of make it
Find a balance
more
with it.
complex
Yeah. Yeah,
and find a better balance of it. Because there's little humor to be found in this
in these
two-parter,
episodes.
but
Yeah, yeah.
there doesn't want to be. It wants to be stone cold
Mhm.
serious, and
Yes.
it's so much better for being
Yeah.
that way. It's so much better for going that hard with unpleasant topics. It treats the characters, the schoolboys treat Martha, for the most part, treat Martha really badly because they would be racist public schoolboys in 1913. That's just what they would
Yes.
be like.
Y
So,
yes,
of
and I like
course, they're going to do that and going to make these
yeah,
horrible little comments to her. It's
yeah.
not beating around the bush with things, and you have to
Yeah.
give it credit for doing that.
Yes, I like that they don't make these allusions to, like, they just make a negative comment to her that could be read as her just as a maid, but they make it clear that they are making these comments because she's Black, and so
Yeah.
I appreciate them not shying away from that and acknowledging her in this time, Because as I said, even, in when Martha kind of first came on board, that I was worried the show was going to maybe water down or not acknowledge her blackness and just maybe play it safe with this kind of colorblind thing.
Yeah, it's
Um,
certainly not done that.
no. So I appreciate when they can acknowledge her blackness and make it a part of the story because yeah, like I'm always saying, I can never play that fun time travel game because when was it when what would it have been okay for me at any point to time travel? I'm like, I'm going back to the 90s because it's the only time I feel like would be okay for me. So the fact that they don't shy away from that, they don't water it down, they just, this is history and we're going to show the history of it. We're going to acknowledge that this is a Black woman in these stories, and not be colorblind to it. I really appreciate. Obviously, don't want to see Martha be treated that way, but I appreciate
Yeah,
the show's honesty in what
yeah.
that would look like for her.
But obviously, I think we do like throughout this whole story how noble Martha is. I think it's Martha's strongest piece of companioning in
Yes, yeah.
total. I think
Mhm.
is this story is because she has to take it all on herself. The Doctor is useless for
Yeah.
90% of this story because he doesn't realize
He's
he's
not
him.
there.
He's not
Yes,
there.
and I like that they did a little bit of a tease of, like, of before they let us know that Martha kind of knows the truth.
Yeah,
So, when we open this episode, we see kind of this chaos happening, him explaining that these things are following them, him kind of briefly explaining like that he has to hide, but we don't really know what that means, kind of giving Martha some instruction, and then he wakes up in bed and
as
is
John.
yes, as John Smith talking like this regular guy, and Martha comes in with his tea dressed like this maid, and, he's telling her about these crazy dreams she's had, and she's just like, "Oh, that's silly," like so and she's relating to him very, casual, like a servant to him, and, like,
Yeah,
um, not endorsing his dreams or not, like, trying to remind him of things, so we kind of think for a little bit, like, are both of them kind of misplaced in time and have kind of forgotten who both of them are? So I like that they, like, build up to a reveal of, like, "Oh my gosh, no, Martha knows the truth, and she's hiding it, and she's waiting for the right moment when she has to reveal it," and all of that. So I like that we don't immediately kind of know, until a certain point. I like that they built up to that.
yeah. Okay, so I think we've established our feelings towards what Martha's doing in this
Yeah.
episode. I think we love what Martha's doing. We just hate that nobody else seems to understand the full extent of what
Yeah.
Martha has done, or at
Yeah.
least sees Martha as we see her, sees Martha as
Yeah.
she kind of wants to be seen. There's that tragic, tragic scene of her, really towards the end of the second episode, where
Yeah.
she is pleading with John Smith and telling John Smith how much she loves the Doctor, telling
Yeah.
him how wonderful he is, and
Yeah.
God, she hopes that he never hears any of this. He doesn't remember any of this
Yeah.
when you turn back into him, because that would just, it would kind of, I wouldn't know what to do with that. I wouldn't know how to deal with that.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
pouring my heart out to you now.
Yeah.
And there's that other beautiful scene of her when, the TARDIS has been hidden in the forest a ways off from
Yeah.
the school. And she goes to the TARDIS and she's kind of whispering to the TARDIS, speaking to the TARDIS, and really regaling just this affection she has developed for the Doctor, like almost teary eyed. And
Yes.
it is heartbreaking. It's 100% heartbreaking. I think we get that fully. That is where your
Yeah.
frustration seems to come from.
Yes. Yes, because he does leave this video behind, kind of giving her instructions on what to do if she needs to bring him back. And she kind of is going through them, and she's like, "Well, you never," and she sees that he's kind of falling in love with this nurse that works there,
Yes.
that John
And we will
Smith
get
is.
into this now.
Yes. And so when, she's going, just rewinding this recording, like, "You never gave me a rule of what to do if you fell in love. So what am I supposed to do? And how could you have fallen in love and it's not with me?" And like when she says
Yeah.
that, oh, it kills me. And then even when she's confessed her love, to John Smith and telling him that she loves the doctor, and even if he never loves her back, she still loves him. Like, oh, that killed me because it's just like long-suffering Martha. Like, I hate that it feels like long-suffering Martha, and and just as a Black woman, and, I talked a little bit about this last time of just Black women not being seen as objects and people of, deserving of love. And so when that kind of happens, it's just line she was saying just were just like killing me. Killing me
Yeah.
so
I mean,
bad.
I 100% get it. It kills me too. It really is heartbreaking. There's many times in these episodes I think you would be forgiven for having a tear in your eye. It is that
Yeah,
emotionally effective and emotionally
yeah,
impactful. And you can't say that all the time with Doctor Who.
I
Like
know.
kind of a lot of the time we're interested in the concept of the episode week to week. It might be a decent, fun time of an episode week to week. It might be a very thematically interesting time of an episode week to week. But every so often, it will just smack you in the face with a load of emotion. That is
Yeah,
exactly what this two-parter does. Phenomenally so. But
yeah,
we'll move into the different layers of it. Because what do we make? Don't think of it as the Doctor and Joan
yeah,
Redfern falling in love. What do we make of the build of romance between John Smith and Joan, the nurse, the matron of the school, played by Jessica Hines in another
yeah.
installment of You'll Always Recognise Someone from
Yes, there
Doctor
were a
Who.
couple. There were quite a few
There's
people in
like
here.
3, I would say
Yes.
3 notable
Yeah,
You'll Always Recognise Someone in Doctor
yeah.
Who in this. 2 of the schoolboys who are Harry Lloyd, Viserys Targaryen from the first
Yes.
season
Crown
of
for
Game of
King.
Thrones,
Yes.
Crown for a King. And Thomas Brodie Sangster is
Yeah.
one of the younger
Also
schoolboys as well,
also
who
Game of
obviously was
Thrones.
like 28 at the time, but
Yeah.
looks 12 because that's the nature of Thomas Brodie
His
Sangster.
face.
I don't know if he was 28 at the time, but he certainly was a lot older than what
Than
he
what he
was
looked.
playing.
Yes, yes. Also, Love Actually and Game of Thrones as well.
He was.
Um, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a really cute development of a romance. I love how she plays into the story later. She very much, once kind of crazy things start happening and Martha is struggling to get through to John Smith because, of her status, no one wants to listen to her. That she does. She believes her, so kind of Martha almost has to talk through her and, like, be like, "Tell him," and so then she's like, "Yes, believe Martha. I think she's telling the
Yeah.
truth." I saw and she's read all his journals with all of his stories and the dreams he's had. So and he even kind of has forgotten he keeps forgetting that he's had these dreams, that he, has
Yeah.
written these things down, and she reminds him. So I like that she's not she's quick to kind of get on board with what's going on, and she's not kind of afraid of it or denying it or um kind of allowing him to stay in this locked up place. She knows, despite how it's going to personally affect her, she knows the importance of getting him back to who he was, um despite it hurting her, and you know plays into what she needs to do to help him remember who he was, despite how it's what she's going to lose because of it. She's going to lose this man that she's fallen in love with.
Yeah,
So,
and it's
yeah,
obviously such an interesting thing to think about is
mhm,
the Doctor, you know, the human version of the Doctor falling in
Yeah.
love with somebody is something the
Yeah.
doctor never even
Never
computed
made
would
a
happen.
contingency. Yeah, so Martha's like, "I don't know what to do because you didn't plan for this." Um, and, like,
But it
even
is such
John
a
Smith.
beautifully human thing. It's the most human thing he could possibly
Exactly.
do.
Exactly, and, the fact that even John Smith is questioning, he's like, he never even thought that that was a possibility because Martha's like, "He didn't tell me what to do if this
Yeah.
happened." And he's like, "How could he have not even thought of that?"
I mean, this
So
is
the fact that
this is obviously later on when John Smith's having
yeah.
a psychological breakdown because he kind of
Yes,
maybe
because he
half realizes that he's not actually who he
a
thinks
real
he is.
person. Exactly, and he wants to stay there, and he doesn't wanna go back, and, like, he feels like if he opens this watch and becomes this doctor again, that, like, that's like a death for him, so he's, like, totally freaking out. He doesn't wanna give up this new love, he doesn't wanna give up this comfortable life that has been crafted for him. He doesn't wanna be just a story in somebody's mind, and all of that I think is really interesting, and he plays to it, uh,
It's so well
incredibly well.
performed. I mean,
Yes,
it's devastatingly
this
performed by David
emotional
Tennant.
conflict. Yes, yes, it's so good. So I love interesting things like that in the writing of this episode, in the performance of this episode, of that kind of internal struggle that, he's having pretty much a mental break. And it makes sense, and you understand it, and you kind of feel for John Smith despite wanting the doctor to come
Yeah,
back. So it's a really and they do this tug of war with this kind of emotional state for quite a long while. I expect it to be resolved fairly quickly, but they kept it going for so long, that it
the
just
benefit of a
really
two-parter, it has more
yeah,
time.
yes. So it really built to some incredible tension, that had me stressing out. So yeah,
Yeah,
great performance. Mhm.
really unbelievably so. I do think it's some of the best acting David Tennant does as the Doctor, and he's technically not even playing the Doctor in
Yeah, and which
most
is
of
even
these
more impressive
episodes.
because it feels like a sense of kind of range from him, in
Yeah.
playing this whole different and making you believe and feel like it's a different person. So,
Yeah, because you like John Smith in in relation to kind of everybody else in the
mhm,
school itself as well, because he's definitely sort of the easier one. He's not absolutely stone faced and stern like the headmaster
no,
is. It's all this very, very traditional, stereotypical
yeah.
Edwardian public school. You can think of this kind of thing and know the
Yeah,
sort of atmosphere you're going to get. John Smith does bring something a little bit more easygoing than that.
yeah.
Still, a
There
disciplinarian, still
yes,
a
yeah,
hard
not
nosed teacher.
yes, no playful doctor energy to be seen
No,
at all. Yeah.
definitely not. But an ease to him where you think like he would actually take care of people if he needed to. And
Yeah,
there's obviously the whole layer of um, sort of building these boys up for battle in
yeah,
these episodes as well. We don't, at this point, they don't know that World War One is
it's
imminent, for
coming. Yeah,
example, but
yeah,
we still get all this building the boys up for battle because the headmaster is a former military man who obviously had all of his, you know, colonial conquests of southern Africa and things like
yeah,
this. So he's one of those British
yeah,
imperial types
yeah,
who liked, going and fighting all the savages and things like this. And he speaks as
yeah,
much like this as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
obviously he's not going to be taking Martha, the one black person, very seriously, is he? Because
No.
what has he been doing for his entire career? Going to South Africa and fighting quote unquote tribesmen in skirts and things like this. And this is
Yeah.
what he says in the episode. So
Yeah.
again, it's another example of not shying away from
Some kind of
genuine
dark history. Yeah.
dark history and genuine, to the modern ear, horrific things for people to believe, but believable things for people to believe.
Yeah.
It's important that it does that. John
Yeah.
Smith doesn't have any of that within him as a human being. John Smith, okay, isn't a real human being, but he does have half a backstory that the doctors clearly tried to give him.
Crafted, yeah.
But it's not quite, fully fleshed out. So he might
Yeah,
believe he's from Nottingham and grew up on this one street in Nottingham, but can't really tell you anything about growing up because
yeah.
the doctor's kind of just given him the base
The
facts.
base, yeah, yeah, so mother's name and father's name and kind of what their jobs were, very basic kind of
Yeah.
information, yeah.
But he's also actively fighting against this idea of building these boys up for battle as well. He doesn't want this
Yeah,
cycle of sort of inherent violence to
violence,
continue.
yeah, yeah,
And does that come from the doctors? Does that come from the tiny little part of the doctor's mind still within John Smith of understanding that, well, a year later, it's gonna be the Great War, it's gonna be World War One. A lot of these
yeah,
boys are going to be fighting in it. We get a really interesting, Thomas Brodie Sangster's character is really quite interesting in the sense that he's almost like a psychic character. He can
yeah, he
see
has, like, low
into
level
these and
telepathy,
interesting
kind of,
sci-fi
yeah,
concept. He does. Interesting sci-fi concept. He is a seer almost, so
yeah,
he can have these flash forwards of his life in the future
yeah,
and sees himself alongside another schoolboy there, a kind of bully of his, to be
bully
fair,
him,
in
yeah,
in
in combat,
battle, in no man's
mhm,
land, in World War One, fighting together. So there's a serious internal fear within Thomas
yeah,
Brodie Sangster throughout the 2 episodes, and he has a very, very interesting arc. He plays it pretty well because he's also a good actor. Um, in his younger years, definitely was and continues on to be. So we know
yeah,
we're
yeah,
getting quality there. But it's again another heartbreaking element of these 2 episodes. The human, quote unquote, human
mhm,
nature of them is almost violence is inevitable. Violence is going to happen. Violence is surrounding the
yeah, it's
world at this
unavoidable.
time. It's
Yes,
unavoidable. And how do we deal with that? And it's really, really tough. And by the end of the second episode, you get that beautiful, almost commemoration of fallen soldiers,
yeah,
and an old version of Thomas Brodie Sangster's character, at this war memorial in kind of
yeah,
present day when the doctors turn back into the doctor and he and Doctor and Martha
Martha,
go and kind of visit
the
this
ceremony,
memorial ceremony,
yeah,
wearing little poppies each,
yeah,
and really commemorating fallen soldiers of this kind because there's a personal connection there. We see
yeah,
actively Latimer, Thomas Brodie Sangster's character, as a very, very old man,
yeah,
as the one World War One veteran left at this point
left
because
there,
it was an
yeah,
awful long time ago.
yeah, yeah, but he looks over to
And
them, he
it's
recognizes them,
yeah,
yeah, and he was, like, making me mad because like,
I
he
mean, it was a
steals the
little
doc
bit difficult.
yeah, a little bit of a klepto. He steals the doctor's pocket watch, the one that's, like, meant to bring the doctor back when he needs it, and so once these aliens do ultimately kind of sense the doctor's around because he opens the pocket watch,
Mm,
um, Martha sees them kind of looming around, so she's like, "Okay, now I have to wake up the doctor." So she goes looking for the pocket watch, it's not there because he took it. And he's just
yes.
running around with it, keeps opening it up. He's brought the aliens out now. They've taken over the bodies of people who work at the school. So they're just looming around. So yeah, and it's a very long time before he like actually gives it back. And even before that, he's like, I found this pocket watch. I'm like, no, you stole it. You took it. You didn't find nothing. So he was like getting on my nerves for a little bit, but by the end, he does ultimately redeem himself. But he says that he didn't give it back because it was, like, speaking to him, and it showed him scary things about the doctor. So, we're talking
Yeah.
about, this piece of the doctor's brain still in John Smith that is, calling for peace and nonviolence, yet in this pocket watch, he sees a kind of scary, rageful streak in the doctor, and that's what scared him enough to not wanna give it back. But he
which
is
we know is
he
there.
Yes, and he also says it alongside, like, juxtaposing it with, "But also, you're wonderful." Like, and then it kind of makes the doctor feel almost like he has this glamour ability, like a vampire or something, to pull you in and, make you love him, um,
Yeah, I
the
think,
way
but I
he
think he
talks about
does.
it. Yeah,
I think he does. I think that it's so interesting that this story speaks to realizing who the Doctor is, realizing
yeah,
so much that in the most human story we've ever had of the Doctor, where
yeah,
90% of the time he is John Smith, the human school teacher. It
yeah,
speaks to just how alien we must remember the Doctor is so much and so deeply. You know,
yeah,
when the Doctor is just the Doctor, we forget he's an alien. We even when he's in his more alien versions,
yeah,
we'll actively see once we get onto it. Matt Smith's version of the Doctor is actively more alien than David
mm,
Tennant's version of the Doctor.
okay,
There's actively more bizarreness to him,
okay,
and just he's just much more unusual.
okay,
And there's been, you know, times in classic Who when this has been the case as well. Tom Baker was a particularly alien Doctor that came after
yeah,
John Pertwee, a particularly
okay,
human Doctor. But it's so difficult a lot of the time during David Tennant's run. He is obviously a phenomenally popular Doctor
mhm,
because he is the most human Doctor. We have
yeah,
to remember the Doctor is not human, so does not
yeah,
think like a human, cannot think like a human, has this rage and wonder combined within him, has this hypnotic ability within him, doesn't have the heart, even though he has two hearts and always wants to help and is a
yeah,
good figure generally. There's so much darkness there. The complexity
yeah,
around the character of the Doctor is something people, I think, can forget about because he is, or they, I suppose, is so it's so much more easier to think of the Doctor as hero, protagonist, good person,
yeah,
helpful. The Doctor is so much more complex than that. This story gives the Doctor that complexity more than almost anything we've seen so far. I think the only thing that maybe comes as close to showing true complexity and true darkness and mixed with the lightness
mhm,
is Christopher Eccleston in Dalek, or
yeah,
maybe um, or maybe David Tennant in the last Christmas special when he's destroying the Empress of the Ratnos brutally,
yeah,
and
but I mean,
has to be shouted at to be
to
stopped by Don.
stop, yes, yes, but even here, there's, like, this sinister mercy that he grants the family of blood at the end of this episode, um
Yes, I mean we'll obviously we get into the family of blood themselves
yeah.
shortly.
Yes. So what he ultimately kind of does to them at the end has this really dark feeling
It's
to it.
horrific. It is
Yes.
horrific when you think
He
about it.
leaves them all in like a state of torture because they take over these bodies, so they're literally like a family. Um and yeah, he just kind of locks them each in this kind of infinite state of horribleness.
Yeah,
And
they
so what
wanted to continue living, they wanted to be immortal, they wanted never to
yeah,
die, so he made sure they would never die. He made
yeah,
sure they stayed in perpetual stasis in the
yeah.
most torturous
Horrific
ways.
ways. Yeah. Yeah, he kind of traps them in all these different kind of dark ways, and it's really interesting, and you immediately go back to that line of, like, the darkness and rage, that the schoolboy saw in the watch
The
that spoke
oncoming
to what.
storm, he's
Yes,
sometimes referred to as.
yes, exactly. So you hear those kind of words again when we go through this little montage of what he's done to each member of the family of blood, and it's kind of unsettling, but in
Yeah,
the best way, because 'cause you're like, "Oh," like, I kind of felt this simmering, but kind of seeing this glimmer of it is kind of intense, so,
yeah.
yeah.
We can get into the specifics of that when we talk a little bit about the horror qualities of these
Yeah,
episodes as well, because there's certainly, alongside the heavy human drama and psychological drama, which is
yeah,
very great quality, as we know, and the
yeah.
romance, which we have discussed a little bit. I don't know if you want to finish any points on the kind of romance between John and Joan, because when we get towards the end there,
Yeah,
there is that another just heartbreaking scene, I think, between the two of them. If you are fully into, if you can put aside, which is tough, definitely, if you
yeah,
can put aside the the fondness for the Doctor and Martha to become something that they maybe don't ever become. If you look at it from John and Joan, which I think we
yeah.
can do because of how well
Mhm.
John is presented in these two episodes, that final conversation between the two of them, again, is phenomenally performed by
Oh,
both
yeah.
Jessica Hines and David Tennant. But
Yeah.
seeing that kind of beginning of Pixar's Up style life together
Yes, seeing the
montage,
a wedding, seeing them have children, playing in the park with them, going on walks, all leading to the end of life
growing
when,
old.
yes, and he's old holding her hand and just asking her, "Are the kids all right? Are the grandkids all right? Is everybody okay?" And she says, "Yes, everyone's okay." And he's like, "Okay, it's time." And we see him pass. And also it's just, like, annoying because pretty good old man makeup. Do more makeup,
Yeah.
Doctor Who. You can do it, like, is it really is that more expensive than the awful CGI that you've been doing? Like, just, do some makeup, it looks really good.
I suppose
So
this is the strange thing about Doctor Who is when it does its practical effects, generally speaking, they look
pretty
really good.
good,
But
yes.
when they do turn to CG at this era, it really
Not
doesn't.
great.
There will
No.
be continue to be great practical effects. I mean, this uh, an awful lot of these two episodes, this story is very practical as well.
Yeah.
Your scarecrow army that the family of blood
Oh, yeah.
use
Looks
are
good.
totally practical.
Yes, and they
There's
look
nothing.
scary. Yeah,
They
yeah.
do. They really do. It is very horrific. But I
Yes.
I genuinely well up at that,
Oh,
um,
yeah, it's very
seeing
emotional,
through
and
the life scene.
yes, and you want like, I'm like, I wanna, like, not like Joan, but, like, you do really like her, especially when she immediately kind of gets on board and knows what she needs to
Yeah.
do, despite what she's going to lose. Um, and then,
But
yeah,
even
that
she's
final.
racist to Martha at one point.
Oh, yeah, because she thinks, like, Martha's, like, overstepping her place,
Yeah.
kinda thing. Um, but that last kinda cold moment she has with him. So when he's the
Yeah.
doctor again, he goes and sees her one last time, and, she's, like, having trouble even looking at him because he looks like John Smith, and she knows it's not John Smith. And, um, she is very, expresses her sadness about losing him, but knowing that he's not him. Um, and, the doctor offers her a companionship, which then just makes me so frustrated because it's like, "Well, Martha's not special, she's not enough for you, you're so lonely, you'll just invite anybody to come along." And then even kind of this tease of potentially giving Joan something that I don't think he can give her, but he's still, like,
Yeah.
teasing it, which is kind of
He's
mean because
the
he wants to, like, make her feel better, and he doesn't wanna be lonely, and I think there's a myriad of reasons that you could read into why he makes this offer to her, and in the way he does, saying that, like, "Well, John Smith is in here. If John Smith is capable of all the things that he felt, I'm capable of it too." But he's not gonna play into any of that, so it just feels really shitty when he says
Yeah,
that.
I
Um,
completely
but
agree. Look, the Doctor occasionally can be incredibly selfish. We know we've
yeah,
established in some of the
yeah,
wonderful performance by the end of the second episode
yeah,
how lonely truly the
yeah,
Doctor is. So he's going to
yeah.
become selfish. He's an isolated, lonely, broken figure who sometimes negatively transforms that into quite heavy gaslighting and selfishness, as he is
Yes,
doing in this instance. He can't possibly give Joan what he's saying, he's going to
exactly,
give her. He can't do that,
and
but he's saying it
yes,
anyway because he just wants somebody else along. Never mind, he already has Martha. He's already
yeah,
thinking about the next person. Let's also remember, please,
yeah,
when was the last time truly that Rose was mentioned? Yes, there's a little drawing of her in this, but it's she's kind of been brushed aside. Does the Doctor himself ever mention Rose anymore? No. Look how strong that relationship was only
yeah.
by the end of last season. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm crying all my tears. I'm almost becoming human and so in love with you, Rose. Oh no, wait, 6 episodes later. Martha, you're the companion now.
Mm,
Yay, let's go,
yeah, so
Martha.
let's make it official, let's go, and then, yeah, immediately, I
That's
don't
the
know what,
Doctor.
3
There's no
3
empathy.
adventures with Martha, and you're already like, "Come along, other
Yeah,
lady," like,
there's
I'm capable of giving you the thing that you
yeah,
might want, so, hey,
yeah.
and even also just not thinking about if this person did say yes and comes along too, like, how is that gonna make
What's gonna
Martha feel?
happen?
Like, no, it he doesn't
Uh,
really think that far ahead, he's just like,
For a
"Sure,
character for a character that has so much empathy, he
yes,
often has no empathy, or he
yes,"
often
and
has
so
no sense.
yes, he's just doing things to do them for the adventure of it or for, to
Yeah,
satiate some need that he has, and so I love the way she shuts him down very coldly. Like, I did
yeah,
not falter for this line that she throws at him because she sees kind of how aloof he seemingly is treating her feelings and her heartbreak of just like, "I could be this guy, sure, why not? Come along." And that feeling very frivolous when she feels like she's lost something so big, and him not even kind of trying to empathize with her feeling, like, he's just very light about it. So when she drops this cold bar on him about, you know, if had chosen any other place to go on a whim to be this fake person, you
yeah,
know, would anybody have died? Like, you chose this little town on a whim to be this
yeah,
person here in this time, and look how many people died because, the family of blood is trying to get the doctor to come out because they can't do anything with him when he's in human form. So
yeah.
to taunt him and get him to come.
At least the 4 people who the family
Yeah.
of blood turned into are dead because they have taken over their body.
Exactly. They've used their ray guns to kill a bunch of other people, and now
Yeah,
they're just bombing the village, exploding the whole village,
yeah,
killing tons of people in order to draw the doctor out of this human form. And John Smith is hesitating because he's afraid and doesn't wanna leave this form that he's in and all these things. So people are just dying in the process of him hesitating. So she kind of throws it in his face. You picked this random time and this random place and this random person to be on a whim. And look how many people died just because of your random choosing of a place.
yeah,
So had you not picked this place, nobody would have died, basically, is kind of what she throws in his face.
yeah.
And he can't say anything and he just walks away.
No.
Ugh. So yeah, it's just
And then goes and gives Martha a hug to say, You don't hate me, do you, Martha?"
yes,
"No,
thank you, and
I
he
don't
like, "Thank
hate
you."
you."
Yes, and, like, she tries to joke off, she's like, "Oh, you don't remember anything I said, right? I didn't mean it, I would have told you anything to get the doctor to come back," and he's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, no big deal." and kind of just gives her a thanks for not giving up on me type of thing. And she's just like, so yeah, long suffering
Okay.
Martha is just breaking my heart that like she will just forever be in love with him and not get that reciprocated in any fashion, not even a little bit, not even in the, to the extent that Rose got, because Rose was this close to getting an "I love you," and then he
She
disappeared.
was. She was.
So yes,
Disappeared,
um,
or if you watch the behind the scenes making of,
yes.
David Tennant just jogs out of frame, and it's really
and
funny.
she cries. She still like props to her for like holding it together and like crying after that, because I would have just
With
been
all
like, I
that
could,
mascara on and the
yes,
hyper.
with her thick ass clumpy mascara. They did her dirty, so dirty. But yes, I'm just like, Martha's never gonna get that, right? She's never gonna get that. And I'm gonna hate it, and it's gonna feel like Bonnie from the
Look,
Vampire Diaries all over again. Like that's what
well,
I'm getting. So
we'll
I just it is the way of it, and I understand that, but it's like, of course this is happening. So my mind is like, of course this is happening to the Black woman. She's not going to get that. She's not going to get to be any kind of object of any kind of affection, and that's just gonna frustrate me.
well, look, we'll see what the rest of the series has in store for Martha. Obviously, I know, but we will see
Yeah,
how
yeah.
Martha ends this series, and if it does satisfy you to a degree,
I doubt it.
we will.
I'm just I'm thinking the worst, so that if it's not as bad as I think, then at least it'll feel not it'll feel better, I
I don't
guess.
think you need to think the worst.
And
I
you told me
genuinely
this
don't think you need
last
to think
time,
the worst.
and you told me this last time, and I still can't get out of this, especially after these 2 episodes. I can't. I'm just like, long
I mean, this
suffering
is yes,
Martha.
okay, yeah.
It's very
We are
has
at
me a
our
little
most.
defeated.
I understand. We are at our most sympathetic towards Martha right now. The next episode we're obviously talking is a Doctor Light story. It is Blink. It is one of the most famous Doctor Who stories
Okay.
of all time. The introduction of the Weeping Angels. Kerry Mulligan leading the whole episode. It
Okay.
is a phenomenal piece of television. It will always be a phenomenal piece of
Okay.
television. I
Okay.
do not buy into this nonsense where people think it's cool to not like Blink anymore
Okay.
just because of how
Okay.
popular it is. It is wonderful. It is pitch perfect as an episode
Okay.
of television.
Well, now that you bring up Weeping Angels, because I know you kind of asked me pre-show, like if I knew anything about it or if it sounded familiar, and after
Yeah,
seeing
because
the
you would have
preview,
seen the little
it
preview.
didn't. Yes, but when you said Weeping Angels right now, I'm like, oh, I do remember kind of in lore, Weeping Angels is a popular thing in Doctor Who.
Yes.
So
Oh,
no
they became
context,
overdone.
but Weeping Angels sounds very familiar in Doctor Who to me. So yeah.
The angels became overdone eventually,
Mhm.
as always, popular things
Okay.
tend to become overdone.
Okay.
But the introduction of them is next episode in Blink, as well as the first part of the trio to end the
Okay.
season,
Oh my
Utopia,
gosh, we're
as
so
well, which is a
close.
great episode. I do think you will enjoy Utopia. There's a lot
Okay.
of interesting things going on there.
Okay.
And returning things going on there as well, which I do think you'll be fond of, Jeannine. Very,
Okay.
very much so. That's what's coming next time. Before we do wrap up, we want to talk a little bit about the horror element
Yeah.
of this story, the family of blood themselves, and how much Harry Lloyd in particular relishes this performance that he's able to give
Yeah.
as son of mine, as he's referred to as in
Yes,
this
this weird
episode.
way they kind of address each other, mother of mine, father of mine, sister of mine, and they all kind of inhabit bodies that, like, speak to their
Yeah,
roles, and so when they address each other, it's very this, nuclear terror of a family,
yes,
and the very proper way they address each other is just very unsettling, and then
yeah.
they have these
The
kind of
opening,
maniacal moments where they relish kind of the terrible things that they're doing and are just laughing and having such a good time messing with everybody, and taunting and teasing before they actually maybe kill somebody. Um, so yeah, they are pretty frightening and intimidating, and I think a
They
good
really
build
are.
up as a villain for these 2 episodes that feel kind of very makes it feel like a movie, like a standalone
Yeah.
movie kinda thing, and this is your formidable villain. So, they really worked for me. Um, and yes, they make them horrible enough so when they do kind of meet this, as I said, kind of like dark mercy that the doctor gives them, you're not upset about it, but you're still surprised that, like, the doctor took it that far, but you're not upset about it. You're kind of, like, into it, but also kind of scared that the doctor,
Yeah.
like, was so cold-blooded with what he did to them. So, yeah, I think they were very good villains for sure.
Yeah, I really do get very, very unsettled by Harry Lloyd in this
Yeah.
episode. His face, his eyes, he's never
Yes.
blinking. The
Yeah.
speed at which he talks
Yeah.
sometimes, and using the proper public school cadence to people just to
Yeah.
mock them, and before shooting them and laughing and running the show and setting all his army of terrifying looking scarecrows
Oh,
on
yes.
everyone.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is, it might sound a little silly, put in context of this set in an Edwardian public school. Obviously, there's elements of the old Edwardian ghost story and horror
Yeah.
story here as well. Um, Plenty of great horror was written in the 1910s, so you're getting that atmosphere too. And
Yeah.
I just really I think all four of the actors who play the family themselves, once they're obviously taken over and take human form, are great. It took somebody with the quality of Harry Lloyd to just really anchor all that, really nail it all, and scare the pants off all the kids in the school.
Yeah.
Um, when he shows up, because they're calling him by his human name. They're calling him Baines.
Yeah.
Baines, come on, back in the school. What are you doing? And he's just
Yeah.
mocking them because he's not Baines
He's
anymore. He's
yeah.
now son of mine.
Yeah.
So before getting his ray gun out and shooting the headmaster or doing whatever else. I don't think it's
Yeah.
him who shoots the headmaster.
It's
Actually, I
the
think
little
it's
girl.
sister of
Yeah.
mine who shoots the
Yes.
headmaster.
There's a little
Um,
girl with a red balloon, like, "Ugh," like, gosh, of
yeah,
course,
I
it's a
mean,
cranky little girl. Yeah,
come on,
yeah,
it might as well be
and then
Pennywise.
yes, and then that they've killed a little girl, so that's just like, "Oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
terrible." Yeah, yeah,
But they all have their little jobs to do, sneaking into the school once it's been barricaded,
yeah,
and the schoolboys are setting up for battle. As
yeah,
we've already talked about, that very dark layer to these
yeah,
episodes. The father is on the hunt for the TARDIS, which is hidden away in the
hidden
forest.
away. Yeah,
Everybody has their job to do in the family, but it is son of mine's job to be the key intimidator, to
yes,
hoard
coax
all the
the doctor.
scarecrows
Yeah.
at night. It's obviously at night. It's obviously been
Oh,
raining,
yeah,
so it's obviously just heavily atmospheric.
yeah,
Moonlight shining everywhere, horrible shadows, the very obviously stiff um, posture of Harry Lloyd as well is great. The
yeah,
very, very uncanny way he can move his head when speaking. He is relishing this performance. I love
oh,
this
yeah,
villain performance from Harry Lloyd
yeah.
so much. It's terrifying for children. It's terrifying for adults.
I know. I mean,
My
this
God,
army of
is it
scarecrows that he's
effective?
sending. Yeah, he's sending this army of scarecrows that look super creepy. He's just maniacally laughing at everything. His eyes getting very wide. Like just no issue
It's
hurting
not
anybody. Like
cartoonish. It's never
no, yeah.
cartoonish.
No, no, it's very intense and you believe it.
Purely
Yeah.
psychopathic, purely
Yes.
psychotic, purely
Yeah.
I mean, the family of blood are this family of alien hunters. They are nothing but bloodthirsty. That is their
Yeah,
whole
and
deal.
they're yes, and they talk about loving the hunt and loving the chase and all of that kinda thing, so that just adds to their fun when they're freaking people out and scaring people before they kill them. So, yeah,
Yeah, it is. It's another such a great element of
yeah.
the episode. They work obviously really well as a villain. They work
Mhm,
in the human drama sense to draw back out the Doctor.
mhm,
And
yeah,
then the Doctor does play a little bit of a trick on them by the end, where it's still pretending to be John Smith and
yeah,
infiltrating their own ship and
yeah, blowing it up,
bumbling around, pressing all
yeah.
these buttons, and then
Oh, yeah.
revealing, "Oh, yes,
Oh, no.
I'm going to bring you the pocket watch because I know you need this Time Lord essence,
Yes,
and
and you'll
please
let me
don't hurt
go.
anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, here you are." And then it's just a regular watch, and, "Oh dear, well, actually, I'm now the Doctor, and you shouldn't have let me press all those
Mwahaha.
buttons. I'm gonna run
Yes.
away now. Bye."
Blow up your
Da-da-da-da-da.
ship, yes. And then we see kind of one by one what he does to them. I think Father of Mine, he chains up and, like, leaves him in this, like, void.
Yeah,
Mother of Mine, he, like, lets her get sucked into, like, this black hole, like,
yeah,
like, kinda thing. Sister of Mine is probably kind of like the creepiest one, where
definitely the creepiest
he
one.
locks her into the reflection of a mirror. So she's in every mirror, and if you see something kind of like pass behind you in a mirror quickly, it's always her. Like she's just
Yeah,
stuck in there.
narrated. I think it's
Yeah.
narrated by Son of Mine as well, almost what
Yes.
happens to each of them. And
Yes, it's like a
the
dark
line
fairy
of
tale. Yeah.
it really is, but the line of anytime you see something, even for a little split second, move behind you in a mirror, that's Sister
It's
of
her.
Mine in every
Yeah.
mirror there
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
was.
He
It's like,
yes, he
oh,
locks her in there, and then perfectly for Son of Mine, he makes him a scarecrow in the field, and so he's just stuck
yeah.
there with the
I
crows
mean,
looking like those creepy scarecrows that he brought to life, so, yeah,
yeah. As a living scarecrow in that sense, not
yeah.
like Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz or Wicked or whatever, not not Jonathan
Yeah, no,
Bailey.
not cute, not a cute
Terrifying.
Jonathan Bailey scarecrow. Yeah,
I mean, it
that's
does
very
make you
creepy.
wonder whether every scarecrow is now
Yeah.
supposed to be Son of Mine, or is it just that one scarecrow in that one field, wherever this was? It's probably just
Yeah,
that
it's
one
like
scarecrow.
yeah, it looks scary like the scarecrows in those creepy books, the scariest stories to tell in the dark. It looks
Yeah,
like
I mean,
it
it
could
is
be
not
straight
a
out of
pleasant
that.
looking scarecrow.
Yeah, no, it's creepy, super creepy looking. Yeah.
It does, obviously, those horror elements do lead us very nicely into Blink, which is a
Okay,
terrifying
yeah.
episode and
Yes, I mean, that little
will
preview was creepy.
will have you looking at every statue you ever come across twice.
Yeah.
Because will it be an angel? It presents it very, very well. I know I'm bigging it up.
Okay.
I'm rightfully bigging it up. I think I was rightfully bigging the Family of Blood two-parter up as well, Jeannine. As
Okay.
frustrating as certain elements of it are, that is not due to the quality of it. That is
Okay.
due to the choices of the writing, I think, isn't it?
Okay.
Um, no, in this episode, in these
Yeah.
episodes, I'm talking about, not Blink.
Okay.
In the Family of Blood two-parter, as we've talked
Yes.
about, as frustrating as certain elements of it are, that is not due to the quality of
No.
the episodes.
No, no, it's just caring about these characters and seeing them, not be in a place you want them to be, not kind of getting what you feel like they deserve. It's frustrating because you care so much. That's
Yeah.
what it was, not the quality of episodes, not the story itself. Kind of,
Would
it
you say
felt
it's the
like
strongest of series 3 so far?
yes, definitely, because we had great villains, we had some great emotional complexities, it had a great scope, it felt kind of cinematic, it had very heartfelt moments as well, interesting characters, great tension. So yeah, it had so many great elements to it. It was just very hard to see the characters we love not get the
Yeah,
things that we feel like they deserve.
yeah. Big love to Martha. Always big love to
Yes.
Martha.
You're my
We
that.
all,
You're my
we
girl.
do love
You're my
Martha.
girl, Martha. Yeah.
I mean, look, okay, the Doctor and Martha are in the next episode. They are in Blink, but it is a Doctor Light episode.
Okay.
The last Doctor Light episode we had was Love and Monsters, wasn't it?
We don't talk about
last
that.
there has never been a larger amount of difference between quality of two Doctor Light episodes as there is
Yes.
between the Series 2-1 and the Series
Well,
3.
as long as this Dr. Light episode does not end with a sex slab, then
No,
I think I'm okay.
no. But obviously, as we said,
Mm.
it does have another instalment of You'll Always Recognise Someone in Doctor Who, because it is
Okay.
led by Carey Mulligan.
Yes.
Wonderfully so, as
Okay.
Sally Sparrow. Great. Another companion that never was, I suppose, Sally Sparrow. But people kind of like that she.
Love her. Okay.
People kind of really like her. People think that she maybe could have become a future companion if she would have wanted to. I genuinely don't think Carey Mulligan wanted to, though, so I think it was actually down to Carey Mulligan. That choice, and then other things happened.
Yeah.
I'll have to do my little bit of a research on that before we do talk about Blink next time out, alongside Utopia, of course, as we continue with Series 3 here on Diving into Doctor Who. Obviously, this show alternates every week on our TV-based things here on It's a Wonderful Podcast with Discovering Dawson's Creek, as Jeannine did allude to before, with some frustration elements. With early Joey Potter, in that show. We also, of course, have Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday, getting into a Sandra Bullock series for August, and celebrating old movies every week on the main show on Fridays, getting into a World War II series there. A little bit of World War I action in today's episode. But World War II is the focus in August on the main show. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can find us all week long on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Do subscribe wherever you are listening to today's episode on all major podcast platforms. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like and share, whatever else you may be, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, any other such place. And of course, if you are watching today's episode of Diving into Doctor Who, do subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel for all our video things too. You can find us and support us on Patreon, or donate if you would like. You can find links to do that in the description of today's episode, or on and across all the social medias, of course, on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dom, with a 3 instead of the E in the, because Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All your bloodthirsty hunters are where.
You can find me, Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link, or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
I'm going to give you a choice. You can either pretend to be Son of Mine and do that voice, which is probably quite difficult for you to do. It's very, very fast, upper class Edwardian English. Or because of the human nature of it all, obviously one of the episodes is called Human Nature, you can just sing Michael Jackson's Human Nature if you want to. I don't think we'll get copyright stricken.
Oh my God. Why? Tell him that it's human nature.
There you go. Bye.